Look around. The modern world is quietly and very methodically destroying your ability to think. Welcome to Book Distilled. Today, we aren't just looking at some generic productivity issue. Actually, scratch that. It's not a productivity issue at all. We're dissecting a massive cognitive crisis that is happening right under our noses. Every single day, your attention is being strip-mined. We constantly convince ourselves that we're just passing the time, staying connected or being busy. But beneath the surface, something much, much darker is happening to our psychological architecture. The brutal truth is your mind is literally being trained to fail. Every endless doom scroll, every phantom vibration in your pocket, every brightly colored notification badge, none of this is a harmless accident. It is a systemic, calculated hijacking of your brain's reward centers. You aren't just lacking willpower. You are fighting a daily battle against an environment that is entirely engineered to fracture your concentration into useless tiny splinters. And the scariest part? We're willingly participating in the destruction of our own mental endurance. So I want you to confront a really uncomfortable truth right now. Are you controlling your attention, or is the screen completely controlling you? Think about the constant, draining consumption of nonstop digital stimulation you endure every single day. That deep mental exhaustion you feel by, say, 3 p.m.? That isn't because you've done too much meaningful, hard work. It's because your brain is desperately trying to process a relentless avalanche of completely useless data. We've essentially surrendered our most valuable asset, our focus, to the highest bidder. To put this in perspective, the natural human mind was historically built for intellectual peace. It was designed to be calm, to dive incredibly deep into singular problems, and to generate profound, sweeping creativity. But the modern mind? It is completely exhausted. It's fragmented. It is hopelessly addicted to cheap dopamine hits. We have tragically traded our capacity for breathtaking innovation just for the momentary hollow relief of a refreshed timeline. We are slowly starving our natural genius day by day. And the cost of this trade-off is absolutely staggering. 60%. Just let that number sink in for a second. That is the shocking amount of the work week the average modern professional burns just treading water. Over half of your working life is spent reacting to instant messages, untangling endless, pointless email threads, and performing shallow internet searches. We are running on a digital treadmill, sweating profusely, totally exhausted at the end of the week, but ultimately, we are going absolutely nowhere. So why do we do it? Why do we plunge headfirst into the chaotic noise of our screens? Well, psychologically speaking, it's simply because we are terrified of the silence within our own minds. True contemplation is deeply, intensely difficult. It requires facing boredom, wrestling with complex problems, and just sitting in unbroken silence. Our modern instinct is to sprint away from that exact discomfort the very second it appears. But this constant flight from boredom leaves us profoundly anxious and intellectually stunted. We've essentially become strangers to our own inner voice. So the absolutely crucial point here is how we reverse this immense damage. We have to pivot away from the crisis and look at the hidden solution, which is deep work. Now, do not mistake this for some trendy corporate buzzword or a generic self-help life hack. It's not. Deep work is the rarest cognitive superpower of the 21st century. It is the elite, almost completely forgotten human ability to focus without distraction on a cognitively demanding task. It's the very foundation of mental mastery, and honestly, your ultimate competitive advantage. And this cognitive superpower is nothing new for the world's most impactful minds. In 1922, Carl Jung retreated to a literal stone tower in the woods just to formulate groundbreaking psychology. In 1969, an unplugged typewriter in total, pitch-black isolation became the engine for a massive volume of award-winning films. In 1995, Bill Gates locked himself away for isolated think weeks just to navigate the dawn of the internet. They didn't just casually try to focus. They aggressively, fiercely protected their minds from the outside world. To truly understand how to get there, we need to perform an autopsy on our own distraction. We have to break down exactly why the human brain fails so spectacularly when exposed to the relentless demands of the modern digital landscape. Why can't we simply multitask our way to greatness? Well, the psychological reality is brutal, and it exposes exactly what happens the very moment you let technology dictate your attention. It all starts with a hidden penalty called attention residue. Think of this as the cognitive tax you pay every single time you glance at a screen, check an inbox, or respond to a quick ping. You might think, oh, it only took 5 seconds, but a massive portion of your brain's processing power stays stuck on that previous message. This creates a lingering, heavy mental fog. By constantly checking in, you are continuously dampening your overall intellectual performance. You're walking around operating at a mere fraction of your true intelligence. And over time, this creates permanent, lasting damage. Chronic multitaskers literally rewire their brains to become suckers for irrelevancy. Psychological findings show that if you constantly consume on-demand distraction, you systematically destroy your brain's physical ability to filter out useless information. Even when you finally decide you really want to sit down and focus, you physically can't. Your mind automatically initiates irrelevant neural pathways. You become a mental wreck, completely incapable of holding a single thought. Which leads us directly into the absolute biggest trap of the modern era, mistaking shallow motion for deep progress. We are so terrified of not looking busy, so we've fully embraced a frantic, nonstop processing of logistical tasks. We send messages at rapid fire, we live our lives in group chats, we attend meetings about other meetings. It feels incredibly productive in the moment, but it is a total illusion. Shallow motion creates absolutely zero new value in the world. Deep progress is literally the only thing that actually forges a meaningful legacy. Which brings us to an intensely uncomfortable realization. Ask yourself, could a bright college grad learn to do your job in a month? If your entire week is built out of shallow motion, answering emails, updating spreadsheets, routing information, the brutal truth is, yes, they absolutely could. A life spent lingering in the shallows produces nothing of unique, irreplaceable value. If your output is easy to replicate, you are incredibly easy to replace. And the future economy is entirely unapologetically ruthless in this regard. It is rapidly splitting into three distinct groups. You have the replaced, whose shallow work is easily automated or outsourced. Then you have the distracted masses, who are barely treading water, hopelessly anxious, and stressed out of their minds. And finally, you have the focused few. The future only rewards those who can rapidly master hard concepts and produce at an elite, peerless level. You simply cannot do either of those things if your brain is hopelessly addicted to cheap digital stimulation. So how do we actually escape the distracted masses? We have to shift the momentum toward profound transformation. Reclaiming your attention is not about downloading another fancy productivity app or color-coding your calendar. That's a band-aid. It is a brutal, necessary act of mental rebellion. It is about actively fighting back against an entire multi-billion-dollar industry designed specifically to monetize your cognitive exhaustion. You have to take your mind back by force. To do this, we need a massive, radical paradigm shift. Most people try to work in a constant state of distraction, and they occasionally take brief breaks to try and focus. You have to invert this completely. Don't take breaks from distraction. Take breaks from focus. Your default state, your baseline, must become deep, uninterrupted concentration. You must intentionally and ruthlessly wean your mind off its crippling intolerance to boredom. Rebuilding the mind requires something akin to strict mental interval training. You must aggressively quarantine distraction, flat out refusing to let network tools and social media dictate your daily schedule. You have to actively embrace boredom. When you wait in line for coffee, you just wait, actively forcing your brain to tolerate the discomfort of understimulation. Finally, you execute intense dashes of focus, sprinting toward artificial deadlines to push your cognitive capabilities to their absolute breaking limit. And when you finally undergo this intense training, I'm telling you, the emotional and psychological momentum is profound. The fog lifts and pure clarity returns. That low-level, constantly buzzing anxiety, it drops away entirely. Because you are suddenly producing real elite work, your confidence dramatically grows. Your ability to learn incredibly hard things accelerates at a terrifying pace. You stop being merely busy and you start achieving true mastery. You finally reconnect with a deep, undeniable sense of human purpose. Ultimately, this whole journey is about achieving total mental freedom. Stepping away from the shallow, frantic, entirely distracted masses is the ultimate competitive advantage in today's world. When you fiercely protect your attention, you are protecting your capacity to create, to think profoundly, and to live a life of extremely high intention. It is literally the only way to tap into your true human potential in an age of infinite deafening noise. Now, what we've covered today really only scratches the surface of this profound psychological transformation. To dive much deeper and truly master these concepts, I highly encourage you to read the original book that inspired this explainer, Deep Work by Cal Newport. It's a real game changer, and you can easily find a link to it right down in the description below. So I'll leave you with this final, uncompromising ultimatum for your own intellectual survival. In a world brilliantly designed to scatter your thoughts and harvest your attention, deep, unwavering focus is your only true defense. The divided mind achieves absolutely nothing, but the people who master focus eventually master their future. Guard your attention with your life, and we will see you next time on Book Distilled.